All right, good morning. My name is Chasen Ishii, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to call to order the June 5th, 2024 Kalaeloa Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. The time is now 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kalaeloa Board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included on the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor, boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communication staff is hosting this meeting. Once this meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. If you wish to provide oral testimony and you are attending virtually, please indicate so by clicking the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. If you are attending in person, you'll be called to the front of the room in the order that you signed up. All testimony will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Your testimony must be related to an item on the agenda. Before you begin your testimony, we ask that you identify yourself and spell your name for the record. When 1 minute is remaining, 1 minute remains will be called out. And when 30 seconds is remaining, 30 seconds remain will be called out. When time has elapsed, time will be called out, after which you will have 30 seconds to conclude your testimony, and then your audio will be turned off. If you are attending in person, the presiding officer will call the next testifier. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity to share your thoughts with us. If you ask questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to provide an answer. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you.
ACDA board members, please remain visible and audible during the meeting. Also, please acknowledge you are present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect the following board members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Member Apo.
Member Apo.
You're on mute.
There we go, present.
Right.
Digital.
Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Nazar.
Present.
Member Strites.
Present.
And we have Member Evans and Member Ray excused.
We have quorum, Chair.
Thank you. For today's meeting, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide their testimony respectively. Item number 1 on the agenda is the approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of May 1st, 2024. Board members, are there any comments or questions or corrections to these minutes? If there are no comments or questions, the minutes are approved as presented. Item number 2 on our agenda, decision making. Consider authorizing the executive director to send a letter of intent to the Department of Navy, a federal agency, as represented by and through the Commander, Navy Region Hawaii, CNRH, that indicates an intent by the Hawaii Community Development Authority, HCDA, to enter in an intergovernmental support agreement between HCDA and Navy to allow HCDA to provide Navy and installation support services as further agreed upon between the parties through project-specific task orders. Craig Nakamoto, Executive Director, will now present the staff report. May I ask the following persons to come forward to the presenters table to make their presentations after the staff report. Commander Brandon Gosh. Navy Region Hawaii, and Assistant Regional Engineer, Ms. Tiffany Inga.
Inga.
Inga. Okay.
Thank you.
and Deputy Assistant Region Engineer.
Dan, I'll close the-
Director Laurie Moore and Deputy Director John Green of the Military Community Relations Office, Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism.
Thank you, Chair. I will, give a brief staff report and then will be followed by, I think, comments from Commander Ghosh and Tiffany, and then, Laurie and John. I'm really honored to present this staff report and also the opportunities that it presents. It represents, I think, for HCDA, an opportunity to partner and collaborate with our partners at the Navy Region Hawaii, really on a project or projects that are of mutual benefit to both the Navy Region Hawaii and HCDA. The projects that we're looking at are, at least initially, will be in the Kalaeloa Community Development District, which we oversee. It is also a district that the Navy has a lot of interest in particular with the Navy's electrical system. This opportunity really aligns with HCD's mission, which is to join the strengths of private enterprise and public agencies to create opportunities for redevelopment and work in the community. It is also consistent with our strategic vision and plan that was adopted by the board, which is to use our expertise and resources within the agency to help other state and federal agencies. The IGSA that is being proposed will create a framework for further work through task orders or through the IGSA itself. There's more details to work out in terms of an IGSA, and definitely, in task orders. But the two, at least immediate tasks, and this is, I'm using, sort of Commander Ghosh's words, but these are sort of these no regret projects, or what I call no brainer projects. And that is to help them, connect up the Hawaii Army Air National Guard parcel to the Enterprise Energy Corridor, and also connect up what is now known as the Kalaeloa Film Studio parcel to the Energy Corridor, and possibly other projects as well. When we enter into a partnership like this, I mean, it really helps, I think, board members that we share a commonality of goals. Like I said, there's gonna be many more details to work out, but I think if we have these guiding principles, then it'll lead us to the right path, and that is to hopefully enter into this IGSA. One of our important goals is to support the Navy's timely divestiture of the Navy's electrical system in HECO. One of the Navy's top goals, I think, is to divest from ownership and operation of the Kalaeloa electrical distribution system in an orderly and thoughtful way. The other goals that we share is we wanna, facilitate redevelopment in the Kalaeloa, community development district. The Navy's goals is also to enable effective development in the district by others. And the upgrading of this electrical system is one major piece in the future redevelopment of the Kalaeloa district. And, I acknowledge the Navy for not only having this current goal of getting off the system, but the future goal of helping us to redevelop the district. As many of you know, the lack of a reliable electrical system in the Kalaeloa district is really an impediment, one of the biggest impediments to future development in the district. The other common goal is that the Navy was able to get $18 million through the Consolidated Appropriations Act of fiscal year 2024. This is $18 million that is, intended to help with this divestiture. And we also, again, want to be able to help them, to support them to utilize that money for its intended purpose. This money has a relatively short time frame. It needs to be obligated by end of September of this year. And I think both Commander, Navy Region, and HCDA kind of look at this money, and it's our belief that, if, hopefully this doesn't happen, if this money is not obligated timely and it is allowed to lapse, it is gonna be challenging, I think, to expect another tranche of money coming in. And I say that only because of my experience at the legislature. I think, when you get money, you have to try to use it. And I think the commander shares that view with me. To do so otherwise and let it lapse would look like, I think, not good for both of us, HCD and the Navy. So this IGSA really helps us to help them to utilize that money and take care of these sort of no-brainer, no regret projects as quickly as possible. Like I said, we have a lot more to work out. Part of the bigger plan for this, I think, and this is the bigger picture, board members. This kind of, the consideration for this is an idea that kind of comes with these IGSA agreements, and that is that we would sort of provide these in-kind services to the Navy Region Hawaii. Right now, DBED has the Kalaeloa Film Studio. DBED would like to support the film industry in Hawaii a longer term on the leases. Right now, that film studio is, I believe, is a month to month. And to promote, investment by the film studios into capital projects, capital improvements, maintenance, I think a longer term is desired. This is something that we had on behalf of the Creative Industries Division at DBED relayed to Navy Region Hawaii Director Allen. So an appraisal of the rent was obtained. The result of that is, a pretty, substantial market rent. So what the commander and the Navy Region are suggesting is that these in-kind services can be used to sort of offset that rent. And I think it's a win-win situation. Now, when I say that, we haven't worked out the details of that consideration, so I don't want to even get too much ahead of ourselves. And it's not contemplated to be a one-for-one kind of thing. I think the spirit of it is that we would help you, and you would help us with a kind of a win-win kind of situation. Now, in terms of helping DBED, I think one of the sort of but one of the questions that have been asked is sort of HCDA, can we, what are we gonna sort of get? And I think that's something that HCDA and DBED have to work out in the lease arrangement somehow. What is it that, can help us to support these services? Because the board, rightly so, has always had concerns about staffing, workload capacity, and the resources. So I think chair and members, that part of it will have to be worked out with DBED in terms of if they're going to charge a rent to studios, what is it that we're going to sort of get as a part of it? What's going to be kept by CID? And it's something I've spoken with Director Skinner about a little bit before this meeting. Chair, I think I've tried to summarize in broad terms, what the proposal is. Again, I wanted to, really thank Commander Ghosh, Navy Region Hawaii, the commander, Admiral Barnett, and even Assistant Secretary Navy Berger, because I think it's because of their reach out to establish a relationship between the Navy and HCDA that myself, Garrett and Ryan have really tried to cultivate over the last 6 or 7 months. I believe some of that relationship and desire to work together has resulted in where we are today. So really honored to present this today for the board's consideration. Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions or comments for the staff report?
Member Paul has a question.
Yes, Member Uphold.
This is a friendly question. I'm kind of absent the history of the Navy's involvement out in that area. And I was just curious to know, there was a period in there where the Navy started to leave when the airfield and the rescue operations out of that area could. Anyway, long story short, what is the long-term interest of the Navy, the federal government, in maintaining their ownership of those properties out in that area?
Thank you. This is Commander Brandon Ghosh from Navy Region Hawaii. Are you referring specifically to the film studio parcels or
Any of the properties that the Navy has jurisdiction? I'm trying to understand, is this something that is going to be forever? Are there opportunities, for a shift in how the land is managed, the ownership, fee title, and all of that? I'm trying to project in my mind, what is the intent of the federal government in maintaining its position in that part because federal government owns 1/3 of the property in the state of Hawaii. So.
Yes. So
friendly question.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So I'd say on broad terms, the intent for the Navy is to divest of most of the land. We have a few things there that there's no current plans to divest of. That's you got the White Plains Beach, Nimitz Plains. We actually have an environmental facility. It's sort of on the west side of the runway. And I can only speak to Navy. I know there's Air National Guard, Coast Guard, some other federal agencies that have land, but the BRAC process started before the turn of the century, and quite frankly, it was BRAC gone wrong. The utilities were not included in that initial divestment of property, which is why we still have the electrical system today. Against I think everybody's wishes. We're not happy with it. It hinders development. It's just a bad news story all around. But we're in the process of conveying, I think, some of the last final parcels, some through a non-BRAC process. Through Fort Island Master Development Agreement. That's kind of along the northern edge. Hunt Corporation is the recipient of pretty much all of those. Some of those are in a lease to convey status. And then a lot of the lands, there's a parcel HCDA was looking at about 200 acres. And then just north of that, city and county conveyance, which is probably coming in the next week or so. Don't want to spoil the news, but so generally speaking, we're not planning to hold on to most of that. A lot of it's already in the process of conveyance, honestly taking longer than probably anybody thought, even for the development agreement parcels, but.
I do understand the real estate management relationship. What I'm trying to understand is, that area, unlike Schofield, unlike Hickam, unlike Pearl Harbor, is not, as far as I know, is not directly involved in the defense of the country. So what is the purpose of the Navy in that area? How does that relate to the national defense system? And what is its contribution to defending Hawaii? The military objective. What is the military objective?
So if we're talking, I think the White Plains and Nimitz Beach, those are morale, welfare, recreation. So those are, we consider that support to the sailors, soldiers, airmen. But we do not have any mission activities left in the Kalaeloa district per se.
And Member Paul, maybe I can kind of jump in. Thank you, Commander Ghosh. Didn't mean to put you on a spot, but I thought you could better answer that. So, and you have. But let me just jump into that. I think so. One of the objectives, I think, of helping the Navy with this IGSA, and providing support services to the Navy by community agencies like HCDA is really to help them divest themselves of this electrical system, an electrical system that's outdated, and thereby allowing them to focus on mission critical things, in their wheelhouse. And then as to the BRAC properties, Commander Ghosh is right. As part of the long-standing, sort of BRAC process, there are two sort of tranches of properties that are slated to be to be conveyed. One is around 400 acres of Coral Sea Road that's set to go to the county Parks and Recreation soon. And then the other tranche is 3 parcels that actually is going to be taken up, Member Apo, in the next agenda item. And that's the Northern Skeet, Southern Skeet, Orty Pond. That one is by special legislation. I think the county one is by public benefit conveyance. So I think, Member Apo, that like this electrical project, electrical divestiture project, the intent of the Navy Region Hawaii is to divest itself. It's not gonna be, is to divest itself of the electrical system in a thoughtful way, and that allows for a smooth transition to eco.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a long range view, of what to expect going down the line in terms of the relationship and land management, ownership, and all of that. But thank you, both of you, and thank you for your service.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you, Member Apple. Member Nasser?
No, no more. I don't have a question
Oh, okay.
anymore.
Member
Thank you.
Straits? No more. Oh, okay, any other questions?
That's for Director Nakamoto.
I remember, you go.
Craig, the question is, if we're able to provide these services for the Navy, do you think that HCDA in the future would be positioned to help military bodies divest themselves of assets, or is this just a Kalaeloa specific service?
I don't want to get too ahead of myself on this one, but right now, I think the way the board has sort of adopted the strategic vision and plan that really allows us to help other state federal agencies. I think there's always a possibility that we could help other, the Navy in other areas. There is that possibility, subject to the board's approval. I promised the board that I would take back these opportunities to help other state agencies and federal agencies, just because the board is concerned about staff capacity, workload, and so forth. Right now, the task of upgrading and transitioning off the Navy system is a huge job in itself. And that's what I think we're really focused on, task one. And that's enough. And I really haven't thought really too far ahead. And I also believe, in fairness, this is sort of a test for us to see how we do on it. And if we do all right, then maybe the Navy will want us to help them with other things. But frankly, we haven't talked about that. I think we get too far ahead of ourselves. We just focus on task one. Task one is to help them with this $18 million and try to use it effectively and for its purpose, and try to encumber it or obligate it before September 30th.
Yep. Thank you. I just want to emphasize, and I think I've emphasized this a few times, it would be helpful just for the board's sake and the institutional knowledge of HCDA, Craig, I know you do this, but to make sure we're recording lessons learned and best practices, just in case this agency is going to undertake similar ventures of this kind in the future. So if you could just be, taking notes as you go and perhaps sharing those and keeping the board apprised, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
We'll do, Member Higa, and then as this process moves forward, we will keep the Kalaeloa board informed.
Thank you. Director Nakamoto, I know I spoke to you about this previously, but from my understanding and reading this its decision-making, point. Seems like, we are supporting, in-kind services for, DBID. It's something that it isn't a part of our strategic plan to help support other state agencies and federal agencies. But have you worked out any details or anything on how we would be able to maybe work with DBID and being compensated for our staffing and time and our efforts in supporting this entity?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I touched upon it earlier. You know, when I look at the, assisting DBED, it is part of sort of our mission and a strategic plan to help. DBED is the sort of the umbrella agency over HCDA and other agencies. So I think it's part of our mission to help in the agency like DBED. As far as what we're trying to do with this, it's gonna help the film industry. If we can connect up electrical work to there, it's gonna help the film industry. If we can somehow provide these in-kind services to help, sort of reduce the financial obligation of the new rent, then that'll help the film industry as well. And when we help the film industry, it's gonna help the whole state. As far as sort of DBED, I have to work something out with Director Skinner on this. If we can get a long-term lease for the film studio and assuming that, the financial obligation to the Navy is reduced or eliminated, I think Director Skinner's job is to find a film studio tenant who can rent that space. And if there's a rental charge to that, then I'm hoping that, HCDA can get a portion of that rent after CID's portion of the rent is, maintained for their own programmatic purposes. They have in the past put some of that money in a special fund for their use, but maybe we can work out something. So I haven't worked out all the details with Director Skinner, but that's my sort of at least going out plan.
It's just that, the board was concerned in our strategic planning discussions about the amount of support we're giving to other state agencies and other federal agencies with the limited amount of staffing we have. And I know, it's a sort of double-edged sword, right? We must be doing a great job if everybody wants our support and our help, but on the other hand, we need to make sure that we don't overwork and task our other areas.
I take heart of that, and I'm reminded all the time about how, it is a double-edged sword. So I think we'll have to work through those things, and I'll, keep this Kalaeloa board informed as to the progress of this, but I still believe that when I look at the 18 million that came in from Codell, we're in the past legislative sessions, we were also looking at a state funding amount to kind of match what came in from Codell, congressional delegation. We didn't get quite as much from the legislature this year or last year. But regardless of the amount, I always thought that, I envisioned that HCDA was gonna be the one that got that money from the state and the feds, and we were gonna be the one to implement these electrical upgrades in the district. And so, Navy region asking us to help is still consistent with that, something we would have done anyway, I believe, as part of what we do. It's like doing infrastructure work in Kakako.
Without the 18 million.
Without the 18 million. Without the 18 million, exactly.
All right. Any other questions for Director Nakamura on the staff report?
Chair, I'd like to,
Sure.
unless there's other questions, I wanted to give both Commander Gold, Tiffany, and Lauren, and John the opportunity if they wanted to say something since they're sitting at the table.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chair, maybe one of the first things in response to your recent question about resources and I understand that money does not necessarily equal people, certainly not right away. Hiring takes time. I will say usually when services are procured through an IGSA, there's an overhead component. Just as internal to the Department of Defense. Navy charges overhead for oversight of construction, design, what have you. So it's not just a pass-through mechanism, there's an opportunity there. In fact, some of the items that we propose putting into the IGSA could include a, staffing specific items, if it's a management function or what have you. What, through discussions with Craig and Garrett, what we've kind of come to realize, the Navy is not well postured to do what is essentially land development work. That's functionally what we're doing. Our statutory requirement through the fiscal year 2024 Defense Authorization Act, and the Defense Department gets an authorization and an appropriation. One's the abilities or the authority to spend money, the other one gives you the money. We are charged with getting the existing customers off of the electrical grid. And that's only half of the puzzle for Kalaeloa, because you also have empty plots of land that you'd like to see developed. So that's not part of the Navy's charge or the money we're getting. We do see this as an opportunity where we can fund that portion. HCDA can, fund the other through state or other fund sources. And instead of two parties working with ECO, Navy over here and HCDA over there, you centralize that. So you end up probably with a better product in the end. It might be cheaper. The Navy, I'll say, is not really looking at this as an economy from a dollars and cents perspective, more as an efficiency and effectiveness angle. HCDA, we think, is much better postured to do that work with ECO and any existing customers, and certainly anything in the future. Because our contract vehicles and mechanisms we have to work with ECO are not set up for this. We're a power purchaser, certainly, but not a developer that works with ECO like that. So that'd be one perspective. And as to the timing, I'll say it was just over a month ago when the appropriations bill actually was passed. We did not expect $18 million this year. So it's been a lot of discussions with the HCDA staff over the past month, quite frankly, to get us to this point. So we understand it's kind of an audacious goal, right? To go from no agreement, task orders after that. And on the
By September 24th for crude.
right. So it's a lot, right? A lot to fall into place very quickly. So many things have to happen. Even on the Navy side, the approval chain goes up to Secretary Berger's direct report. I mean, people are postured to support, but still, it's a lot of things in a short amount of time. So first of all, just thank you for even entertaining this at this point. We do think that there's a lot of goodness that can come, especially if we're able to leverage the $18 million. Pretty good likelihood of more money in the coming fiscal years. The overarching agreement still be in place, right? The IGSA, once signed, is not transfer of money. You can put in recurring services if you want, but you don't have to. So the IGSA is the framework, and then each specific work item would be negotiated, priced, and then we use the term awarded, but it's advanced payment agreement would be issued for those. So the key to all that is getting the IGSA in place. From the military side, one of the actual hard requirements is a letter of intent, and that's part of the reason asking just for the non-binding letter of intent, because we do have to have documented interest from the local or state government partner. So that's a little bit of perspective. Tiffany.
I think I just want to kind of caveat to preface some of the discussion we had on BRAC before, and it's been essentially 25 years in the making of the start and movement of trying to divest of this infrastructure, which supports both current and previous planning of this area. This is essentially a step forward. I think to that point, the IGSA is essentially the framework itself. Each individual agreement will essentially either strengthen our partnership and our opportunities, but will also be a moment to improve how we then move forward as this continues to divest. We literally mentioned 2 particular parcels, of which are many in this area. And so as we continue to move forward and how it needs to move, I think building that framework will allow the relationship and partnership that we develop amongst our organizations and government structures to continue it and develop as needed as well. And so we do hope this continues. We do hope we see beneficial progress on all sides, is more importantly for the community as well. and what they see of that area. I particularly live in this area, and so being able to drive by, on my way to Costco, seeing this information, seeing how things are taken care of in this area, knowing what needs to come and what is supported by the people of Hawaii in this area, and the demand we have on so many things for housing, community, recreation, just as a civilian, I understand that. And so I think personally, being able to see from our position with the Navy, that this is a way forward in progression is extremely, it's honestly, it's extremely beneficial on my part. It fulfills my heart. I feel like Miana is being definitely towards this area. So we appreciate the time. We appreciate just exploring this opportunity with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Lori Moore. I'm the Executive Director for the new Office of Military and Community Relations. This is John Green. He's the Deputy Director. We wanted to express, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be here today and talk with you, but express our support for the letter of intent initially, and then the IGSA to follow. We feel that this aligns very well with your strategic plan in terms of the collaboration with the community, using HCDA's expertise to benefit our community as a whole. I think that now more than ever, we should be seeking opportunities to collaborate with the military in ways that benefit our people here in our state. And I think this is a great way to take that first step. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much, Commander Ghosh, for coming today, and Tiffany also, and everyone here. Thank you.
Chair,
Yes.
I have a question, just a clarification, maybe more for the director. So just based on what I've been hearing, it sounds like this intergovernmental agreement would be structured, I guess, in terms of duration around the Navy's divestiture of the electrical systems, which could occur over decades. But as far as the 18 million goes, it's just going to be related probably to the upcoming work orders. So after that's completed, and if there's additional funding that is appropriated in the future years, that agreement would still be in place. But would the work orders for the new work come before the board as well under this broader IGSA, or is that, I guess, details to be worked out at a later point as part of the agreement?
Okay. Sorry. No.
He's asking if the work order is in place, will we have to come back on an annual basis?
I think if the work orders are in place, I think my hope is, well, let me answer it in two ways, I think, remember straight. Hoping that the board will provide me with the discretion to enter into these task orders as needed, maybe without, further board approval, but to report back to the board as these task orders are entered into. And then we can provide an update, both the Navy and HCD staff can provide a, kind of yearly update on the status of these. That's my hope. Just because, with the timing of money coming in, not sure, how quickly, it needs to be obligated. I just want to be able to kind of move quickly on some of these things, especially relating to electrical upgrades.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I have a follow-up
Yes.
clarification question about that. So it seems like the details are really gonna be in the task orders, right? Is there some I guess threshold in which you would want to, where it would be raised to the board before before you kind of execute, or are you requesting kind of just like that broad delegation?
I'm hoping to be clear, I'm hoping to get some broad delegation. I think where I would bring it to the board is instances where I think I'd want them to decide on, because of maybe the extent of the project, the scope of the project is just too extensive. And just get the board's, thoughts on it, but in general, I would hoping for some broad delegation to me as the executive director. And then if there was some extraordinary request that was really, a large scope item or something, then I would probably come back to the board for input. I think Commander Ghosh and his team would probably support that. Although I haven't asked them that, but I think they would support that because of something that's very unusual, very huge scope.
Yes, so I'd say just as you really have no control over our processes, neither do we have control over your approval processes, whatever they end up being, so. We're agnostic to that.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any other questions or comments?
There's no testimony.
Thank you very much.
Testimony.
This time, we will be, public testimony. We will accept testimony in the following order. Persons who signed up prior to the meeting date, persons present in the physical location, persons online in the Zoom meeting. Speakers will be called upon to testify in the order in which they have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony. Instead, summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you're representing. And there are one person who has signed up to provide testimony. At this time, I would like to call on Kahuna Aina. And you have 3 minutes.
Aloha. Can you hear me
Aloha.
okay?
Yeah,
Yes, we
we can hear
can.
you fine. Thank you. Go ahead.
Perfect. I'm speaking in regards to item 4 on your
Oh.
agenda.
Oh,
And,
sorry, but we're on item 3 yet.
We haven't gotten to item 4 yet.
oh, okay. Would you like me to wait then?
Yeah.
Yes,
can you wait
please.
So we can close this item out. Item 4 is 2 items after this one.
Okay.
No,
All
no
right,
problem.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other written or oral testimony?
Sorry.
Yes.
Is there any other testimony for this agenda item?
Yes.
So what do I say? Understand, okay.
Yeah.
So before I come and do my testimony, I just want to put for the record that I was on the Zoom and people are not being able to even communicate at all. So the public is being left out of this. I got the message, it said aloha, and my name, and it said, would you like to testify in this item? The chat is disabled. The chat is disabled. There's no other way. That's why I was raising my hand, lowering my hand, because there's no other way to testify. So this is a super important matter. And also before I testify, I just want to know, have you guys made your mind up? Are you really going to listen to testimony? And according to what we say.
Sorry, hold on a
we're
second.
going to-
Are you testifying?
Yes, I am going to testify, but I want to make
This,
sure.
on this agenda item or another one?
This one,
Oh,
this
this,
as well as 4, and I did sign up previously as well.
okay, so maybe why don't you have a seat,
Okay.
identify yourself, and then.
I will, I just want to make sure, are you really going to listen to testimony online and in person, or do you have your minds made up and it's just performatory?
The board has to make a decision today, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay, so-
First identify yourself.
Yes, so aloha Tara Rojas, and I would just like to testify that what I'm hearing is very concerning. And I noticed, you're the Department of Budget and Finance, I was there for, your confirmation, and I heard kind of the issues and everything. But I would like to say, what I'm hearing now really should be even brought up. Personally, I was listening to it, the ethics, just what you said, you scratch your back and I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. What can we get? We'll help you, you help us. Do you know that the Navy's and the DoD leases are up in 2029? That's in 5 years. Do you know what's happening with our water? That water system, it might be that well system that it's actually not well maintained in addition to electrical. But do you know that the entity you're trying to continue this collaboration with $8 million that can be used to help the families that are still suffering on the Navy water line? Why, yes, electricity, water, it's all about upgrading this parcel on Kalaeloa in which the water is compromised. I've been telling you from a year now, in Kapilina, down the road, they're in the middle, that there used to be former military housing, now it's civilian, and they're left out of it. Until to this day, anybody's water bottle, you would not fill up your water bottle in the Kalaeloa area on the Navy line. I can guarantee you will not drink that water because it's still contaminated, and there's PFAS now, even more so than off the Navy line. It's all drawing from the same aquifer. The Navy refuses to help the people that are involved. So if we're gonna talk about upgrading electrical and water, you need to talk about people first, not money. It's people over profit. So the only thing I'm hearing on the board as I was driving down, rushing, just trying to hurry up and get here, literally ran after we parked. Because we were kept out, one, I couldn't even answer the chat. They were asking, would you like to testify? Yeah, I couldn't even chat because I know it.
1 minute left.
Yeah, so I have 1 minute left, so raising hand, so there's I don't know how you do this, FOIA, WIPA, like Freedom of Information Act, and the fact that what's happening right now is a continuation of the illegal occupation of the Navy, and this is how it all started. This is how it all started, with the intention of profit over people. The leases are up in
30 seconds
2029.
remaining. 30
That
seconds.
you would be, you actually only had 3 options, the Army, the Navy, the Army to leave. And then it's trying to keep extending the fact. So the fact is, you do not have jurisdiction. This illegal big state entity, you really need to revise your bylaws according to the situation now that our sole aquifer is compromised and we all drink from the same aquifer. And the military, Navy,
Time.
Army,
You have time,
and
you have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Marines, they've contaminated our water, our archive, our whole ecosystem, our limu, and development is not the answer that we need now in 2024. This is Hawaii. This is Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any
Is there
other?
other public testimony? Major Hicks? You have 3 minutes.
Hey, aloha, Maikako. This is Moleka speaking. Can you guys hear me all right?
We can hear you,
Yes.
Mr. Hicks. Go ahead.
Mahalo for having me. Mahalo for allowing the testimonies. I'm just having a question as in this intergovernmental agreement with you guys and the Navy. So is this agreement, one, is it for the upgrade? I know of the electrical grid, if I'm understanding it correct, or what other aspects of our community is this union planning to improve upon? I myself, I am an officer, I'm a JAG officer of Occupied Forces, Hawaii Army and Navy. We actually have a signature from Lieutenant Beaumont of the USA Navy, who passed away a few years ago, God rest his soul, with my commander, Sam Lilikoi of Occupied Forces, Hawaii Army. He was stationed at Pakuloa at the time under the War Department. My army, my military government, my commander at the time got a signature with Lieutenant Beaumont, and in that signature was a declaration of a state of war. So when I say declaration of a state of war, what I'm saying is that these 2 military governments, meaning my military government that I am enlisted in, and the USA Navy, an officer of the USA Navy, agreed that Hawaii is in a state of war. What is war? We're in a state of occupation. And while we're in occupation, the natives of this land, the Hawaiian subjects, aren't supposed to be having their inalienable rights violated. And by acting upon these lands, just so you guys know, these lands are backed by Land Commission Awards and Royal Patents. And you can look into the Great Mahele Alodia Awards to see which families actually have true ownership of this land.
1 minute remains.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the question of ownership of this lands come into play when we actually look upon the facts. And the fact is there is no joint resolution. There is only a joint resolution that was acquired to illegally take over Hawaii. There's no treaty of annexation. And, you know, if the military wants to do their part, you should actually protect Kanaka Maoli.
30
Mahalo.
seconds.
Thank you. You should actually protect Kanaka Maoli and the Hawaiian subjects. You know, you're supposed to be protecting the Kanaka's inalienable international rights. And if you want to work on some type of internal government with local communities, come work with us. You can contact us. You can contact many of our kia'i who are out there working diligently to end this occupation. War crimes are happening. And in closing, I'm going to close with this. War crimes are happening, just like Palestine, just like in other areas. There are war crimes being committed. And just because there's no gas chambers, there is a form of, okay, thank you. There is a form of denationalization that's happening upon Kohawaii Pa'aina, upon all these island chains. And if the military wants to do their due just, come work with us and put the correct people in chains, which is the state of Hawaii committing international war crimes. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public.
I have one other testifier. Is Sonora Pale. Is that for this item or for the next item, Ms. Pale?
Let's go to the next one.
Next item, okay. Next item, okay.
This item, what's this? But can you make sure to see, give the answer in the chat?
Yes.
Okay. She says this item.
Is there, oh, this item? Okay. Okay,
Okay, next public testifier, Ialani Sonora Pale.
you have 3 minutes.
Yes, 3 minutes. Ms. Pale.
Aloha. Yes, my name is Helani Sonora Pale. I'm a Kanaka Maoli water protector. My concern with this, with agenda item 3 is the fact that there is no Kanaka Maoli consultation on this process. If any lands are to be returned, they need to be returned to the Kanaka Maoli people. We are the right holders of the stolen crown and government lands that were illegally taken after 1893. Also, I'm just kind of bothered by this back and forth with the Navy. There seems to be no concern about the residents in and around Kalaeloa who have issues with water. And less than a mile away from Kalaeloa is Kapilina Estates, and they have had issues with water since November of 2021, since 19,000 gallons of fuel spilled into our drinking water, and that was because of the Navy's negligence. I think right now the priority should be helping those families and working with the Navy to get those families water. They are still drinking and bathing with bottled water. Families that don't are experiencing health issues. So, I just real concerns about HCDA repatriating lands that rightfully belong to the Hawaiian people, or trying to take that authority. Okay, mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony?
Is that on this item or? for the-
Probably this one too.
This one?
Okay,
What is the name?
It's not on this item.
Oh,
She just, but she chatted.
Number 4, right?
Yeah, but I'm guaranteeing she wants to say.
Can you have a seat, Ms. Rojas, and we'll chat with whoever's on right now, you don't mind. So is it for this item or the item 4?
Oh.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
okay, next public testimony is Kahuna Na'aina.
You have 3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes, yeah.
Please proceed.
Hi, it unmuted at 2:53, so I'll take those 7 seconds on the end side. Mai Kako, I am an affiliate to an organization called House of Heirs. As a descendant to these lands to the royal families. As Ohana to Kekauanohi of 11216, I am a direct descendant of Kekuanaoa. Seeing as so, under the Constitution that is currently the Constitution of the land at this time, as stated on qpublic.net, Kekauanohi and heirs of has the absolute title over the lands that you folks are looking to negotiate some sort of land swap. So HCDA is just a mere steward as the designated trustee, while the heirs and successors of the inherent birth rights, which are inalienable, are unable to acquire access to their lands due to the operation of the municipal body corporate. Seen as so, the fiduciary duties of HCDA is to facilitate that of the Constitution of the land. As there is no treaty of annexation, I need to remind the Navy who is present here today, who may not be privy to cultural context, history, and its appropriate truth. You're negotiating with a foreign entity. And if you are the de jure status holding place for your nation, you are to negotiate with those under the Treaty of 1859. That treaty is afforded the rights that are inherent and unalienable to Kanaka Maoli people. When you look at qpublic.net, the allodial title under the location address will reflect the royal and allodial title belongs to the heirs of Kekauanohi. The entire Moku of Eva is the Aina of Her Royal Highness. To continue to negotiate with HCDA, whose fiduciary duties is to protect the interests of the Constitution, which thus warrants Kanaka Maoli interests. I implore you to do your homework, speak with your commanders. You are very much aware we are in a state of occupation with the recent Supreme Court ruling with Mauna Kea, with the recent service of the police officers to declare a military government, is quite apparent that we are in an occupation. The laws of occupation guides occupation, which therefore dictates the Constitution is not Hawaii's chartered constitution, nor the de facto or de jure United States of America, but rather the Constitution and the Kumu Kanawai of Ko Hawaii Pai Aina. This testimony has been said and heard into the heavenly courts amongst those who adjudicate as Ila Muku over all space and time over this province and jurisdiction of Ko Hawaii Pai Aina. Thank you. As I have informed you folks before, my testimonies as a kahuna is always pled and taken to the heavenly courts. That justice is not here and you may not see it, but it will occur in your time, and the actions that you take will affect you and your descendants into the future. I declare this. Iloko ka Yesu Kristo, Amama Uanoa. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public testimony? Okay, thank you very much, members. Are there any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion? Is there a motion for the board to authorize the executive director to send a letter of intent to the Department of Navy, a federal agency as represented by and through the Commander, Navy Region Hawaii, CNRH, that indicates an intent by the Hawaii Community Development Authority, HCDA, to enter into an intergovernmental support agreement between HCDA and Navy to allow HCDA to provide Navy with installation support services as further agreed upon between the parties through project-specific task orders. Do I have a motion?
Member Higa, so moved.
Motion made by Vice Chair Higa. Is there a second?
Member Apo seconds.
Member Paul seconds. Members, is there any further discussion on this motion? If not, I'll ask Craig to take the roll call.
Thank you, Chair. On the motion made by Member Higa and seconded by Member Apo, Member Higa,
Aye.
Member Apo,
Aye.
Member Cherry Shi,
Yes.
Member Miranda Johnson,
Yes.
Member Nasser,
Yes.
Member Strikes,
Yes.
Member Mary Alice Evans is excused, Member Ray is excused. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next agenda item. Consider authorizing, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Consider authorizing the executive director to reject and decline the conveyance from the United States of America, acting by and through the Department of Navy to the Hawaii Community Development Authority pursuant to the 1993 base realignment and closure process by the Navy Facilities Engineering Systems Command Pacific of certain Navy-owned parcels located in the Hawaii Community Development Authority's Kalaeloa Community Development District, described as the Northern Trap and Skeet Range. Tax map key number TMK number 19-1-013-039. Southern Trap Skeet Range TMK number 19-1-013-042, and Orty Pond TMK number 19-1-013-041. Parcels, no street address, totaling approximately 213 acres. Ms. Lindsay Doi, Asset Manager, I'll present the staff report.
Good morning, members. This report is located in tab 3 of your packets. This was first brought to you in August, and it relates to the potential transfer of 3 parcels in Kalaeloa, the Northern Trap and Skeet Range, the Southern Trap and Skeet Range, and Orty Pond. So this actual conveyance process has been, a long time in the making. But we today, as staff, are bringing to you some issues that we see with the potential conveyance. So we're recommending to actually decline the conveyance. Those issues and concerns are, one, relating to endangered plants. There's a lot of akoko on these parcels, and as you know, akoko is endangered. We would be required to do a conservation and management plan if we were to take these lands. Such a plan has many stringent requirements, many of which we don't actually know the cost of doing. As part of that plan, actually, they would want us to quadruple the amount of akoko on that land, to protect it and to help it flourish. So the amount of developable area would actually significantly decrease under such a management plan. The second major concern we would have about accepting such a conveyance would be contaminated soils. As you know, there's a lot of issues related to those parcels, in particular Orty Pond. Some cleanup has been done, but we do know there are many other concerns, and we would be accepting a lot of liability if we were to take on such parcels. And then the third concern we have relates to historic and archaeological resources. We know this area has many historic and important archaeological findings that we, of course, would need to protect and preserve. Also, we are uncertain as to the financial responsibilities that would require. So because of these 3 very, we think, important issues, and because of the unknown obligations, especially in terms of financial obligations that it would require of HCDA, we are recommending declining the conveyance today. And that would kind of close the door on that process, which again has been a long process for the conveyance of these parcels. We are here if there's any questions about that or about what that all entails.
Members, are there any questions or comments in regards to the staff report? Member Strikes?
I was curious if there were any agency or other public plans related to intended use for this site, or public use for the site.
Member Strikes, maybe I can answer that. Just also add on to Lindsay's staff report or the staff report. I think this recommendation to decline it, it's not that we don't support the preservation of the cocoa on these properties. I think it's more that what is the right entity to do this? And I think we feel that we are not the right entity to, preserve that cocoa. I think it could be better done by a conservation group, a nonprofit community group that would do it. We have checked with, Member Strice, to your specific question, we checked with, like Parks and Rec, if they would be willing to take this parcel and, at least my indications from Director Thielen at that time was they would not, they're gonna get the 400 acres, which is the other Rec parcel that is being conveyed. There could be other agencies. I don't think, state, Fish and Wildlife is willing to take this on. There could be conservation groups that are willing to do this, and as a state agency, we would support state agency, other agencies or entities taking this on for conservation purposes, post declination. Again, I want to emphasize, we're not opposed or against the preservation of cocoa or those purposes. We just don't think we're the right agency to do this. Member Strice, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Director Nakamoto, I agree with your sentiment. From reading this, action item, I saw that, with endangered plants and community potential contaminated soil, historic and archaeological situations, ACDA is not the right entity to really manage this area, to a high level, and I think it might be better off, served, with a different agency. So I understand your recommendation.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Do we have public testimony?
Have a seat, please.
We'll be accepting public testimony in the following order: persons who signed up prior to the meeting, persons who are present at this physical location, persons online in the Zoom meeting. Speakers will be called upon to testify in the order which they have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written statement, the testimony that you might have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called upon, please clearly state your name and any organization that you are representing. And so first of all, I'll call our first.
And just before I start, I can watch the timer so you don't, to avoid interrupting the train of thought. Mahalo.
Miss, can you state your name?
Tara Rojas, and I'd like to testify in this, that exactly what I heard, that's exactly what should be at the forefront of every decision. Now, I asked before you made a motion on the previous item, whether you're really gonna listen to testimony or not. Because exactly what your staff just reported, that's exactly what you're saying, and you just confirmed that you are not the appropriate authority to be managing these lands on these exact issues. Contamination of soil, protection of endangered species, and just not the feasibility, it's not the jurisdiction. Hawaii, if you decolonize your mindset and think back way when, the Ahupua'a system management, that's really what needs to be in place again, like now. So I notice as, you drink your water, there are families, again, I'm gonna bring it up, that do not have clean water to drink. We've been to all the town halls, we've been to the court case, the federal court case, and we heard how the Navy or just this, objecting to all of the families expressing their experience with the contamination, the effects that they're still suffering today, their children, their keiki with permanent lung damage, that they all have a lot of neurological problems, that they're going blind in the eye. I've had actually people I know that bathe and they came out with rashes. And again, they're still not even helping them with water, basic water, to provide water. And the reasoning is because the levels say it's safe. The levels haven't raised, the EPA and their agencies are not upholding their mission and their duties. So again, if you all are on with the mindset just to build, that is wrong. If you haven't learned from the fires, what's happening now, the housing situation. If you haven't learned from the Navy contamination, if you haven't learned from Pu'ulobi now being a Superfund site when it was the most abundant place, you look into the Navy's history itself, the Army and the Navy's history, I found their page and it documents exactly how they erroneously got control of the land just through usage. So you really need to do your research and you really need to listen to the public and the testimony. And that's why I asked before I testified, if you're just gonna come in and just listen, performatory, I'm gonna make a motion, okay, yes, because it's all about the money. Why don't you allocate the $1 million for Kanaka Maoli and for those who need it, for housing those in it, not for the Navy, for that to recontaminate the area with contaminated soil, destroy native habitat, and destroy the water. And again, it's Kanaka Maoli land. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public testimony? Do we have anyone online right now?
This one.
Uluai Learning Center,
Morning.
what do you have, 3 minutes?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize. I'm Mikiala Lidstone. I apologize that it says Uluai Learning Center. I'm using my Uluai Learning Center iPad, but this is Mikiala Lidstone. I'm a community member here in Kalaeloa, and I support this decision. And kudos to HCDA for acknowledging this and coming forth with this. There's so many great grassroots organizations here, conservation organizations that I think would be great caretakers of this space. And I can just think of one, and Ulukoa Duhalinsat is an archaeologist. He has a nonprofit here. He's born and raised in Honokai Hale. Not just him, but there are others, I think, who would be great caretakers of this space. And so I support this decision. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else? Any other public testimony? Not members, are there any questions or comments? Oh, so there's one more? Oh, I'm sorry. One more? Sonora Pale? Yeah, Lonnie? Yeah.
Aloha. Hi, aloha. Helani Sonora Pale, Nakia Iowaiha. I wanted to just confirm that I agree that that HCDA it would not be the appropriate caretaker for this site. And I would suggest that you do look for a community organization that is Kanaka Maoli led to malama this place and to ensure that the native species are protected and the EV and the natural resources are protected as well. You really do need specialists, but I just want to put it for the record that myself and I believe Nakia Iowaiha would be in support of a Hawaiian Kanaka Maoli led nonprofit or organization that is able to malama this place, and maybe you should consider doing something like that. Mahalo.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. Next public testimony is Kahuna Aina. You have 3 minutes.
Please proceed.
Okay, I just got unmuted. Mahalo, Kahuna Aina. I am an affiliate of House of Heirs and also a co-founder of Kekuana Oa Foundation as a lineal descendant of our Kuhina Nui and a Konohiki of Ewa, and as a royal family member to Kekawa Nohi. Kekuana Oa Foundation fully supports. I am also a member of Nakia'i o Waiha, and in light of the recent court adjudication, there's an injunction, right, to hold off on the wave pool. And I like to concur and support HCDA's decision to possibly look for a organization or Kanaka Maoli funded or organized entity who can facilitate the best interests of those lands in continuity, not just for the family of those lands, the lineal descendants of Kekauanohi, but also for the larger Kuleana, Kama'aina, Maka'ainanas out in our moku. And Kekuanaoa Foundation has already met with the Culture and Arts Department for the Wai'anae Moku to turn over a TMK that had inadvertently acquired a heiau. So a homeowners association had acquired a heiau out here, and Kekuanaoa Foundation has already sat with the Culture and Arts Department to remove that and allow them to be the land managers. So I'd like to suggest and highly recommend Kekuanaoa Foundation as the lineal descendants of the konohiki of that moku. I highly recommend our organization to be sought out for this work, to work with other organizations to do aina remediation in order to remove toxins and protect the akoko out there, as well as plant and forestry, and improve the vice system. So mahalo for doing what is right. And as all along, Nakia'i o Waiha has stood behind the environmental impacts that the wave park would have sought to destroy. And I want to just give props to our attorneys out there who are listening, as well as the judges who made the right call, because it would have been a detrimental and environmental impact to the lands in Ewa, as well as the aquifer of Kapukaki. 7 million gallons would be needed to fill that wave pool. That would drop the water in the aquifer below the water table, allowing for the increase in salination to the aquifer. That would have been all on your hands, HCDA, who allowed that permit to be granted. So good job to HCDA for making the right decision and continue to speak for the people and the aina. Do what is pono. Mahalo for your time. Aloha. Amama.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony? No. Members, are there any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion for the board to authorize the executive director to reject and decline the conveyance from the United States of America acting by and through the Department of Navy to the Hawaii Community Development Authority pursuant to the 1993 base realignment and closure process by the Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command Pacific or certain Navy-owned parcels located in the Hawaii Community Development Authority's Kalaeloa Community Development District, described as the Northern Tract and the Skeet Range Tax Map Key TMK number 19-1-013-039, Southern Tract Skeet Range TMK number 19-1-013-042, and Orty Pond TMK number 19-1-013-041, parcels, no street addresses, totaling approximately 213 acres. Motion has been made. Do I have a motion?
Member Higa so moves.
Motion has been- Great. So a motion has been made by Vice Chair Higa and seconded by Member Uphold. Can I get a roll call, Lindsay,
Sure.
on the motion?
Members, that motion has been made and seconded. On that motion, Member Higa. I think he's
Aye.
Member, okay. Member Uphold,
Aye.
Member Miranda Johnson,
Aye.
Member Nasir,
Aye.
Member Streets,
Aye.
and Chair Ishii.
Yes,
Motion passes with 6 in favor, 2 excused.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, just information discussion, update by ACDA staff on the actions taken by the board at the March 6, 2024 meeting to allow executive director to extend the exclusive negotiation agreement and right of entry for no longer than 6 months, and to the current status of the deliverables requested by ACDA in the second amendment to exclusive negotiations agreement 01-21 dated March 14, 2024, and the third amendment to the right of entry agreement dated March 14, 2024 with HK Management LLC regarding Ponokea Surf Villages project proposed to be located on approximately 19.4 acres parcel located in Kalaeloa Community Development District at TMK number 191-013-068, no postal address. Craig Nakamoto will now present the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. The staff report for this informational item is contained in tab 4 of your packets. So I'll be brief about this one. So let me address this in two respects. So the staff report and the information contained in there kind of speaks for itself. The exclusive negotiating period and the exclusive right of entry expired with Onokea Surf Village or HK Management on May 14th, 2024. It expired, so let me just be clear. Second, related to that, there has been no permit issued to HK Management. Secondly, there has been no ground lease issued to Onokea HK Management. The second part I want to make clear is that because of the pendency of the litigation, and because out of respect for the judge's ruling and the injunction that was granted, and out of respect for the plaintiffs, I have communicated to HK Management legal counsel that all discussions between the parties related to the ground lease and related to the permit shall cease immediately. And will be sort of suspended until the pendency of the injunction subject to the pendency of the injunction. So in other words, all discussions on the ground lease and the permit between the parties have ceased. There'll be no further discussions pending during the pendency of the injunction. Chair, that's the summary of it, and open to questions.
Members, are there any questions or comments for Director Nakamoto? No. At this time, we will accept public testimony if we have any. We will accept testimony in the following order: persons who signed up prior to the meeting date, persons present in the physical location, the persons online in Zoom. Meeting speakers will be called upon to testify in the order in which they have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each, since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might have provided. Please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time you have available. When you are called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you are representing. At this time, I know we had 2 persons who signed up to provide testimony. The first is Kealani Sonora Pale. You have 3 minutes.
Aloha, my name is Helani Sonora Pale. I'm a Kanaka Maoli. I'm also part of Nakia'ia Waiha. I was one of the plaintiffs in the complaint regarding the Honokea environmental assessment. I wanted to commend the board for stopping all action. And from what I read, their right of entry has been revoked or has expired. So I hope that will continue. But I do want to say this, that if this board had done its job in the first round of review of the environmental assessment that was presented by for the Honokea project, I wouldn't have had to sacrifice so much of my time and energy and fundraise for legal fees to to have them redo the environmental assessment. It wasn't done in a way that covered all detrimental effects to the environment, to the Wai, to our iwi kupuna. And I think I think this should be a lesson for HCDA in terms of how you review environmental assessments when it comes to projects like this, especially since we are in the middle of a water crisis. I have sacrificed hundreds of my own hours, time. I even had to give up my birthday to this struggle to stop this Honokea project from going forward. until all of the detrimental effects has been that can happen has been really looked at. This is a real threat to our island here, with the injection wells, to our wildlife. It's a threat to our iwi kupuna. It's a threat to our aina. And, you know, I have a 40-hour-a-week job. I pay tuition for 2 children for college. We're struggling here in Hawaii. So your duty as the Hawaii Community Development Authority is to make sure that these projects are doing their due diligence. It's not my job to do it, but when people like myself have to step up and do the work that you're supposed to be doing, then, you know, that's really a waste of time, and it's exhausting. So please, moving forward, be diligent in your work when you review these environmental assessments. Our children and our grandchildren really depend on all of us being maka'ala, being vigilant when it comes to our environment and our water. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next testimony, public testimony comes from Tara Rojas.
Rojas.
Ms. Rojas.
So aloha, Tara Rojas, and I'm also a plaintiff of Nakia'i Owaiha. And I just really wanna say that to agree with what Tita Helani said, everything, and to add to that, that one, it's all about the pilina, the connection with each other and with the aina and the vai. So Chairperson, right? I would really hope that you would allow for, even just for listening, I know they're, you know, on Zoom or in person, just as how you look the Navy in the eye when you want something, you know, a job to be passed or anything. So basic respect as well. And I really want to stress to you all, as you know, you take another drink of water, that we've been in all the CRI meetings, Community Resource Initiative meetings, in which the Navy and the EPA have decided not to show up because it's not under their conditions to only speak on what they want to and not to listen to the community. That was the only community voice. So I'm speaking on behalf of our organization, you know, or just our group, not organization, our group, to be the voice of the aina, of the vai, of the iwi, as you heard in the staff report. It's archaeological, culturally, you know, sensitive area. And by the way, next door, Kalaeloa Heritage Park, if you read on their site, they hand water the plants on that grounds in which they were gonna share a 500 stall parking lot. Doesn't make sense. You cannot erase the detriment and the desecration and the contamination that has been done. And you see that through this system that does not work, what I'll just call HEVA system, you have to make things pono. And how do we make it pono? With those of you sitting in the seats that are making these decisions. It has to be people over profit. And I would like to say that it cannot just be, again, performatory words. It has to show through to action. Like Tita Helani said, we had to spend our time, our family time, like our money, our energies to go through this court system fight. And I'm super grateful that they sided, you know, with what is pono, what is right, because again, you need to do your due diligence. It's not a checklist. I don't know how many people probably ever came to testify, you know, until they came to testify. And it's been over 130 years since the legal occupation that the Kanaka Maoli have been speaking up. It's time to listen to them, not only to stir lands that maybe you feel that you're not appropriate or have the capacity to manage. It's for all of these lands. It's to right the wrong. And I like to say this, end this with this. On April 14 or 15 of this year, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the people and in favor of upholding the Constitution. So you all need to really uphold the Constitution as well as the Hawaii Constitution. And all of these agencies are actually not upholding the Constitution. So codes, these agencies, these bylaws, they are not the valid jurisdiction and way in which this place and space needs to be managed. So again, really do your due diligence and not make it performatory to,
Thank
you cannot take back them, you cannot recuperate what's lost, the environment. We already lost the Eva Beach, the Limu, we're losing it. And right now there's a pig, the Eva Beach Neighborhood Board meeting. There's a pig farm to study after how many years, but there's a contamination of the Kai because of the military
Thank
shortage.
you. Thank you as well.
Okay, next testimony is, Kahuna Aina.
Aloha again, Kahuna Aina, direct descendant of the Konahiki of Eva. I just wanted to concur with the other affiliates of Nakia'i o Waiha. In a recent adjudication, environmental court held the project's environmental documents did not support HCDA's finding that the project would not have a significant impact by failing to address. I just want to share as an educator, I have 3 degrees. My master's is in science. And as you sit in your position, and it's not about education for education, it's about, there was once a time when you believed in something so passionately that you did your due diligence. And you sat possibly somewhere trying to convince someone that the knowledge that you had was worthy to be listened to. And Nakia'i o Waiha has come repeatedly for a year to you folks, almost to the point where we're begging. We're taking these things to the prayers of the heavens in the places that we do things as culture practitioners. Because we too have the Ike. We may not sit on your board, but we have vast knowledge by the people who are testifying today. We have done our due diligence. We may not have a collar, we may not sit on a board, but we do sit on a board, and we sit on the board of Pono and the board of truth, and we honor the laws and the province of common law here in Ko Hawaii Pai Aina. And when you operate as a fiduciary under the trust whose job is to protect the interests of Kanaka Maoli, when they come, we don't have the most prettiest appearance to some of you who sit on the board. And instead of racial profiling our people, how about give them fair opportunity to believe that they are so spiritually connected that they have more vast knowledge than any environmental assessment can provide. And when they come to you, instead of just reading black and white, because anybody can use Chat GPT and make you an environmental assessment, instead of just reading black and white, how about feeling into your job? Because you live in a place that is the piko of the aloha spirit of the world. So whether you're Kanaka or not, you feel that. You have to. You've lived here. And so as you continue with your due diligence, please give those credence for the work they have put, because we had to go, as expressed today, we had to go to court to bring these concerns. And imagine if we didn't. For a moment, just imagine if we didn't. You guys would have made a very bad decision. And I hate to think how many other developments you have condoned and approved on an environmental assessment when people came to testify and you didn't believe them. And then they had to go to a judge to then tell you what we were saying all along. And that is what Nakia'i o Waiha is about, is working together in a collaboration to bring forth these things that we cannot see anymore, but to trust the people who are connected with the Aina, and more so the families whose blood connects to these things, because that is a spiritual contract. So on behalf of the Konahiki Matayo Kekuana of the Moku of Eva, Mokupuni Oahu, I mahalo you for your time, and please continue to do what is honorable. Amama Oanoa, mahalo.
Thank you. Next, public testimony comes from Moleka Hicks. Moleka Hicks? Yeah, 3 minutes.
Mr. Hicks?
He's not unmuted, sorry.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Now I just got the option within like 10 seconds to unmute myself. That's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like what the last few speakers have said, I concur with each and every one of them. My name is Moleka Malumale Umule and Nathaniel Hicks. I am also a member of Nakia'i o Waiha. And like each of them said, we took our time and our energy to take on this litigation process to stop the development of this magnitude. I am from Elva Beach, born and raised, graduated Campbell, went Port Care Elementary, went Ilima Intermediate. And I myself, being 33 years on this earth, I have seen the desecration of all these developments. I have seen violation of historical sites by not just the allowance of HCDA, like what you guys did with allowing Hunt Corporation to decimate historical sites in the Kalaeloa area. That is being noted as well. But these type of developments, they do not benefit our people. It does not benefit Kanaka Maoli. And may this raise awareness to other future developers, other future developers and opportunists that are seeking to make money off of the beauty of what we call Hawaii. Yeah, we need to stop trying to exploit these islands, and we need to actually try to sustain these islands and heal all of these islands from all the threats that we are facing. Our aquifer is already in danger, and the development of this magnitude would put our aquifer in severe danger, even more than it already is. And so I do commend you guys, for not having any further discussion with this development with HK Management as well as Honokea LLC. I actually would advise you guys to disengage any future negotiations with them, even if they do an updated environmental assessment. You guys should discontinue any kind of contractual agreement or anything with them. Disallow it. And like I said, like everyone has said, we need to respect Kanaka Maoli. We need to respect our Hawaiian subjects, and we need to respect these lands. We took our own time out to protect these lands, and HCDA, you guys are in a seat to make sure that these type of things, like such as our environment, are not violated. And like what Healani and what Ilamuku has stated, we would have, this is just a testament to what we all need to be fighting for as a whole and in general. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony?
No.
Okay. Members, are there any questions or comments? If not, again, this was only for informational.
No.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the monthly report and other status reports by the executive director. Will you please now present the monthly report?
Thank you, Chair. The executive director's report is between the top 5. In the interest of time, that you read it, and if you have any questions, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Board, is there any questions or comments in regards to the director's report? If not, thank you for those of you who joined us on Zoom or in person. This concludes our business for today, and the meeting is now adjourned at 12:08. Thank you. Thank you. And we will start our general business meeting in 5 minutes.